Yes, sure. So good morning to our principal, Dr. Rakesh Somani sir, our today's speaker, Mr. Gaurav Nandrajog, and all the participants. We have gathered here today for the webinar titled Career in Regulatory Affairs. So we are going to start with the session. Initially, I'm going to give the introduction about the speaker. So begin with the introduction. We have an excellent, enriched, experienced speaker, Mr. Gaurav Nandrajog, with us to deliver a talk on the topic of career in regulatory affairs. Sir is going to share his experience, how after his education, how he has entered into the industry and how it has, sir has achieved step by step, and right now where he is working. So sir is going to share. So I'm just going to give very briefly the introduction about sir. So sir has completed his MS in Pharm, specialized in pharmacoinformatics from NIPER Mohali. After that, sir has joined Procter & Gamble Regulatory Affairs. Then sir has worked with Reckitt Benckiser India Private Limited. Then sir has also worked with the same organization in UK and USA. Sir has many achievements and awards in his credit. To mention few, sir has received the award for Global Mindset in Regulatory, RB 2016. Then sir was selected for Associate Training Program, RB 2016. Also, sir is member of Mensa organization, which is the largest and oldest, highest IQ society in the world. Sir has received that award in year 2016. Sir has also received the award by leadership team for providing innovative ideas and excellent regulatory contribution in Dettol project in RB 2016. Then sir has received Best Asia Regulatory Manager Award for delivering excellent business results across categories in PMG 2011. Also, sir has received Global Regulatory and Technical Relation Community Excellence Award for regulatory support to the project PNG 2011. So there are many of such. The list is never ending. So I would like to, before starting with the session, once again welcome Gaurav Nandrajog sir. Before starting with the session, I would like to request our principal, Dr. Rakesh Somani sir, to guide us for this today's webinar. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. This is my pleasure, in fact, to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Gaurav Nandrajog, and also other participants, particularly the students community. I'm also observing one of my student as well as ex-colleague, Mr. Vivek Nalavadi from USA. He has also joined us. So it's really good pleasure to have you all people here. So dear students, this today's webinar is very special webinar for us, for a simple reason that I have seen Gaurav very closely, the speaker of today. I will use the word Gaurav only because he was my student in the undergraduate when he was pursuing the undergraduate course, and I have seen him closely, how dedicatedly he used to study, and how dedicatedly he has been taking lots of steps into his professional career. So if you see the he was among you people, and now he has reached to such a great height that he has received so many awards into professional life. So dear students, I would like to just pass on this message that if you do things sincerely, seriously in your professional life, I think you are going to get great heights in the future. And Mr. Gaurav is the live example of such kind of attitude. So as I always talk about attitude, what is more important in the life is attitude. And we have a live person here. So it gives me an immense pleasure on behalf of D.Y. Patil University School of Pharmacy to welcome you, Mr. Gaurav, and all other persons, faculty members who have been watching this particular webinar today. D.Y. Patil University School of Pharmacy was established in 2019 with the 2 courses, that is Diploma in Pharmacy and Degree in Pharmacy. We are going to also expand to start Masters and PhD program in near future. Our college is located at Navi Mumbai campus of the D.Y. Patil University, and this is our second year now. However, in this last 1 year, the entire team of the college, the School of Pharmacy, has been involved into so many great activities, and you can see our website, visit our website, so that our website will tell you what we have done in the past 1 year. All faculty members who have been experienced into their respective fields are there to teach our students, and I'm really happy that our entire team is dedicatedly pursuing this work of distribution of knowledge particularly. So not to take more time of you, Gaurav, I'm really thankful to you that you could spare your valuable time with us. And after this webinar is over, I request Praveen to take him into our drives activity also, because we want a person like Gaurav to be with us for our lots of endeavors which we would like to pursue in future. Thank you so much, Gaurav, and over to you now.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes.
So thanks a lot, first of all, Praveen, to give me this opportunity. I'm really grateful that I'm able to see Praveen, who was my classmate in 11, 12. So Mani sir, he has taught me. Vivek Nalawade was my senior. We have played a lot of cricket together. So I'm really happy to see all of them. And that shows how much memories you get when you are with people. And even after 10, 12 years or 15 years in your career, you still remember those people and are well connected. Like when Praveen contacted me, I didn't have to give a second thought to do this. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. And I think so Mani sir has been a real inspiration for me. I developed my interest in pharmaceutical chemistry only because of it. Before that, I used to hate it. I can tell that. I was one of amongst you, but so Mani sir is a great inspiration. So as much as you can learn from him, his knowledge, his attitude, his thinking, that will only take you to the right path, because it has helped me a lot. And so from there, I will start my session.
Yes,
I'm
sir,
just sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Before starting with the session, I would like to request all the participants to be there in the mute form, and whenever you have any questions, any doubts, you can just chat in the chat box. Those will be attended at the end of the session. So I would like to request Gaurav sir to start with the session.
Sure.
Sir,
can you see my screen?
Full screen. Can you make it just?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is it full screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Great. So basically, I'm going to talk about regulatory affairs. So I've spent more than 10 years in it. And I got this quote in one of the internet quotes, which I really liked. It is actually a scientist coached from a bench to boardroom. So earlier, regulatory affairs was not acknowledged much in the industry, and people were not given so much importance. But now, if you go to any company, a regulatory person would be a part of the board committee any company has. So a person starts with experiments, learning about basic things about pharmaceuticals, and over a period of time, he has the potential or she has the potential to go to the boardroom, which is the highest in any company. So it is actually a quest. So just to give you introduction about myself, are you able to see my right side of the screen, or is the video coming in between? Okay, now I think it will be better. Yeah, so I've done my B.Pharm from Bharati Vidyapeeth College of Pharmacy, where I met Mani sir. I did my master's in pharmacoinformatics from NIPA, Mohali. I have more than 10 years of experience in consumer healthcare industry in 2 biggest FMCG companies, P&G earlier, and then now Reckitt Benckiser. I have worked in regulatory, quality, safety, consumer relations, scientific communications, government relations, and a few more departments. And I will tell you why. I have worked on different categories: drugs, medical devices, cosmetics, and I will also tell you the significance of that. I've lived in Mumbai. I'm originally from Mumbai. I've lived in Gurgaon, Hull in UK, and then currently I'm in Austin in USA. So just to talk a bit about my career and how it shaped over years. So I did my master's, started my master's in pharmacoinformatics in NIPER Mohali in 2007. After that, completing my master's, I got the opportunity of being in regulatory team of Procter and Gamble. From P&G, then I moved to Reckitt Benckiser India in Gurgaon in 2014. Then I moved to UK in 2017 as a global regulatory manager. And in 2019, last year, I moved as the head of safety, quality, regulatory, and compliance in Reckitt Benckiser USA. So this has been my journey where I got exposure of different regions and different categories and in different companies. Now, the first thing to explain what is regulation. So I just want to explain what is regulatory affairs, what are the career paths, and then I would want to talk more about why I chose it and what any questions you may have. So just to explain what is regulatory affairs. So regulatory affairs is something who deals with regulations. And regulations means there is a public sector agency, which is a government body who controls whatever activity a company is doing. So if you are launching a product, if you are making a claim, if you are doing an advertisement, if you are doing a clinical trial, anything you are doing, there is a third party who is checking if you are doing it rightly or not, or if it is in the right consumer interest or not. So that is basically a regulation, and regulatory affairs take care of regulations. Okay. Now, what is the importance of regulatory function? I mean, why does it exist at all? So the reason regulatory function exists is because of this big R. Now, what does it stand for? Regulatory function ensures that the right products are reaching to the market. There is no unsafe product or something which can be doubted. They ensure it is going to the right consumer. So if a product is intended for adults, it should not be given to the children. Regulatory affairs ensures that. Right channels. So does it not need to be prescribed by a pharmacist? Does it can be sold in e-commerce online? Can it be sold through a grocery store? Regulatory function has to make that decision. Right time. So think about COVID situation. We all are waiting for vaccine. If COVID vaccine is developed, but it is not approved by FDA for 2 years, how many people would be suffering from it? So regulatory function would already be preparing that how do we get the approval as soon as possible once the test results are out. Right usage. So can someone take paracetamol 10 tablets a day, or can they take maximum 4 a day? Who is going to decide what is wrong, right, what is wrong? So regulatory function plays a role in that. Right market. So for example, there are cultural issues with certain markets like milk feed, nutrition products. Some countries like Indonesia do not accept meat products which are not halal certified. So are your products going into the right market where the cultural sensitivities are taken into care? So regulatory takes care of that. So now the question is why regulatory? So who would be the right person to take regulatory and what skills are required in regulatory? So someone who has interest in science and also wants to work on something related to law. So basically regulation is a law, but it's a scientific law wherein a legal person cannot interpret it. You need a person with a scientific background like pharmacist or environmental scientist or biochemist, etc., who have science background, but who have interest in law. So it's a mixture of both of them. So if you want to study law, being in scientific field, regulatory is the right field. Attention to details. So there are a lot of documents, lot of minor details which needs to be checked because you are dealing with something a consumer is going to eat for their to save their life or to have a happy, healthier life. So each details needs to be checked. Leverage negotiation and influencing skills. And I will talk about this later on how do regulatory use that. But it's very important that someone who is good in influencing people, convincing people, negotiating with them, excels in regulatory. One of the benefits of being in regulatory is you have a voice in company. So you would have heard or thought about every company has like 40, 50,000 people. The big FMCGs and big MNCs have 50, 60,000 people. Does everyone get a chance to speak? Does anyone listen to everyone? When you are in regulatory, you have a voice. If you say this product cannot go to market, it will not go to market. So being in regulatory gives you an authority where your voice is heard. It gives a sense of accomplishment. So I have worked in FMCG sector, even pharma has that. When I work on a product which goes into the market and it benefits people, I feel good about it. Like I used to work on Mortein, and whenever there was a pandemic of dengue, etc. in India, people used to use Mortein, and I used to feel that I am doing something good for the society. So that sense of accomplishment is there when you're working in regulatory. And it actually makes difference in consumer life. Think about it. There are so many diseases in the world. If you develop a product, but if FDA doesn't approve it, consumers cannot take that product. So what is the use of making the product if consumers cannot take it? So in regulatory, when you get these approvals and bring it to the consumers, you are actually making difference to the consumer's life. Now the question is, you would have some people who would be in third year or fourth year of B.Pharm. You would have heard about the FDA laws, Drugs and Cosmetics Act, etc. And many of you might be finding it boring. So when I was there, I used to find regulatory quite boring. But when I entered into it, I found out it's the way you look at it. So if you look at it as only some text written in a book, it will be boring. But if you think it in a way that you are going to make difference in consumers' life by applying it into the products, you will find it quite interesting on how you are turning that regulation into actual products. So it's up to individual how it sees that. It has never been boring to me in last 10 years. So just to give you a bit background on what all things we do. So we study, interpret, and apply regulations. Most of you would have heard about this famous Maggie case where the whole thing was recalled because of presence of lead. Now, why did it happen? It was a regulatory interpretation issue. Nestle regulatory team thought that the lead quantity of lead present should be in the whole product after dilution. Whereas FDA said, no, it should be before dilution, and before dilution, if you test lead, it comes high. After dilution, it comes low. So it was just an interpretation issue which costed Nestle so much, wherein the famous brand Maggie was out of stock for an year. So a simple decision by a regulatory team of a company could lead to that consequences. Registration with regulatory agencies, as I said, to keep track of change in regulations. So as their technology advance, the regulations have to keep up with them. They cannot be old. So just to give you an example of that, hair oils. Earlier, it was only coconut oil or mineral oil used, but now you see in market serums, etc. So it's an update in regulation. If only mineral oil and coconut oil is used or allowed to be used in hair oil, you will not see innovation. So regulations have to change. Prepare strategy for product launches. As I said, COVID, I mean, all the regulatory team of big vaccine companies would be on it that as soon as we get the result, how are we going to launch it? For the treatment drugs, how fast can we get the approval so that we can make it available to the consumers who need it? Approve claims on ads and labels. So you would have seen a lot of claims like Pantene says 98% less hair fall, no added sugar. Now, what does no added sugar mean? Does it mean it doesn't have sugar? No, it just means it doesn't have added sugar. It has sugar from the original source. So how do you modify claims and approve claims which are truthful and not misleading? Influence authorities on advanced technology. I don't know how many of you know in 2017, first digital pill was approved by US FDA. And it actually tracks after going into the body as well, the concentration of ingredients, etc. Now it's a wonderful technology, but if FDA doesn't know about it, regulatory of a company goes and teaches them what it is, and then the regulations are updated. Clinical trial, again, COVID. If clinical trial design is not vetted by regulatory, FDA can reject it anytime. Safety reporting and then training of organizations and agencies. Even FDA is not able to keep up to date with the technology. So it's up to companies, regulatory teams to go and train FDA also on new technology. What role do we play in the whole product life cycle? So all of you may not be knowing about the whole product life cycle, but basically it starts from an idea, then R&D, clinical, manufacturing, advertisement, and then finally a consumer takes it. So regulatory is one function which is involved from the initial stage of an idea till launch, but even after launch. So if there is an adverse event, regulatory is responsible for it. So this chart is just to show you how much importance and in what all areas does regulatory play a role in a company. And that's why it has become such a significant function in a company over years. So what is the result of our work? So the result of our work is whatever you see in the market. Like when you go to a doctor, he gives you a injection. Do you even ask him, okay, is it FDA approved? Is it clinically tested? We never ask that because we have that trust that somebody has checked the safety, somebody has checked the efficacy of this product, and that's why it's in market. So who are these people? These are regulatory people. So they are the one who convince FDA that this is safe, this is effective, and FDA approves it, then only it goes into the market. Same is with machine. Now with COVID situation, there are so many ventilators being used. How can someone trust that the ventilator is working fine and it will save people's life? Because that data has been presented to FDA, after which FDA approves that instrument, and then only it is used on consumer. Same is with cosmetic. We use so many cosmetics in daily life. How do you know it's safe for consumer, for skin? How do you know the toothpaste we are using is safe? It doesn't have any toxic chemicals. It's because someone in a company is taking care of that, and that is regulatory and quality. And at the end, we do all of this for the bigger purpose, which is consumer trust. Because we want that when a consumer takes any of a company product, they blindly trust it. They should not think about, okay, is it safe? Is it going to harm me, etc. And that is the major responsibility a regulatory person is doing. Okay, so that was about the regulatory role in general on what we do, etc. Now talking about career pathways. So there are many things which you can take into consideration when you are deciding career pathways. So first of them is category. If you work in a particular category, it's completely different from other category. So you can either be a master of one category, like you spend 30 years in medical devices and be an expert in it. There are people with that. Or you can do a lot of different things and be an expert in few of them collectively. So it's up to you. Different companies excel in different categories. So you can decide that, okay, I want to be working in drugs. I want to make a breakthrough drug innovation. I want to contribute that, go into drugs. Pharma. Cosmetics, you want to explore claims. You want to explore FMCG world. You can go over there. And chemical registration. So chemicals are playing a big role in today's life. So you can decide your career in regulatory based on categories that you want to be expert in one, and which one, drug, medical device, or you want to be a mix of it. Then you can decide based on your expertise. So there are people who want to be technical. So for example, if I'm reading chemical regulation, I want to study it for 25 years. And there will be no one in the world who is better in chemical regulation in the world than me. And there are people who take that path, that I want to be an expert in one field and I do not want to do anything else in the world because I am so inspired and passionate about it. Or you can take managerial role. So managerial role is you are an expert technically, but in addition to your technical responsibilities, you are also managing people. You have organization skills like budget, trainings, hiring, etc. So you have those responsibilities as well. And then the third is consultancy. So you don't work for a company, but you give your expertise to a company in exchange of money. So these are the areas which you can explore. And then roles. So you can be a regulatory person for a country. So like, as I said, I was a country person for India first till 2017, or you can be regional. So when I was in India, I was also doing a regional role for Asia for certain brands. So it's your choice. You want to do a regional or a country role, or you can do a global role. So when you do a global role, you have to be up to date on everything going globally. And that's why it's much bigger and more complex. Sorry. So this is about career pathways, what you can choose once you join the company. Category is something which you can choose before joining the company. So you can decide that, okay, I want to work in Dabur because it's an Ayurvedic company and I have passion for Ayurvedic products. Or you want to work in BASF, which is a chemical company. All of these companies will have a regulatory department. Okay. Now coming to shape the future. So basically, this all things have been going on for 20 years. Now, what is new? So everyone is learning. FDA is learning, authorities, government is learning, even companies are learning. So what is the future where regulatory focus is there? So first is wellness. So initially, the whole focus was on treatment, that if someone gets disease, if someone is ill, you treat them. But now the focus is more on proactive, that, okay, we should not allow anyone to get ill at all. We should prevent it at the first stage. So that is wellness. And that's why you see this individual health tracking app, focus on testing, etc. Now you can see individualized testing kits. You can do testing at home. All these features available in the market. And that has been possible because regulatory people were able to justify the safety and efficacy to FDA, train them why this is beneficial for the consumer, and get approval for it. And that's why in the market. So even a thing like a smartwatch, you may think it's a watch and you can go into a market and buy it, but it needs a regulatory approval because it is tracking your health. Second thing is self-care. So why self-care? So in a country like India, think about it. If you have a headache, what do? You just take paracetamol of any brand and put it in your mouth, and you feel that you should be relieved of pain. Think about it. If you have a headache, you have to take a doctor appointment on. You can take paracetamol only if doctor prescribes it. How difficult that would be. So it is important that the FDA or government trusts companies more, and then they can make more safer products so that there is more self-care. The benefit of it is two. One is, in country like India, people who are poor, they cannot afford healthcare by going to the doctor. So they go to the pharmacist and ask for the medicine. There are chances of it being misprescribed. But if self-care is introduced and enhanced, there will be less pressure on the consumer. They don't have to go to the doctor. They can go to the pharmacist and buy the product directly, like paracetamol. The second thing is, even for government, I mean, the number of approvals they have to do, they don't have people for it. And because the number of companies and the startups are just growing, so where do they get all these people? So if we can introduce self-care, wherein companies take more responsibility of ensuring safety and efficacy, the government will have less pressure and less products to approve. So it will be a win-win situation where regulatory people are working for. The third is e-commerce. Now with this COVID situation, if you want paracetamol, do you want to go to a drugstore, put your life at risk and get it? Or would you want the ease of getting it on e-commerce? But when you sell it in e-commerce, there are so many risks of it being counterfeit. How do you take care of that? So regulatory people of various companies form an association. They work with FDA to form regulation on how can we make this possible for consumers, because we want consumers benefit. And government also wants that, but they don't want to take it at the cost of any safety risk. So regulatory people convince them what can they do to ensure safety is taken care, and this advanced technologies are made available. Harmonization. So if you want the same product, like in India when we were there and when I went to UK and US, the number of products are quite different. I mean, the things which are available in US and Europe, in India we don't have that. And the reason for that is because there is no harmonization. If we want to bring any US product to India, the regulations are different. An Indian authority will say, okay, I would not allow because it's sold in US. I want it to be tested in India, clinical trial, etc. And companies can't afford that. Companies cannot do every testing in every country. So they go to the bigger markets. Now, who is at loss? The poor countries are at loss. The developing nations are at loss because they do not get back so much money from it, and they have to invest a lot. So there is a big initiation by regulatory communities that we should bring harmonization so that if something is available in US, it should be accepted in India as well. And last thing is personalization. So we have read a lot of articles about personalized medicines, etc. But again, would FDA believe in it and government will approve it? They won't until they see safety and efficacy data. And who will show this to them? It is regulatory. So regulatory plays a role to show them that this is possible and how can we ensure safety even in personalization. And if they are convinced, they approve it. So that was all about regulations, regulatory, etc. I just wanted to talk a bit about what can you do as a career. So before moving into industry, if you are in B Farm, you can do a proper master's course in a lot of Indian universities. I've given a link where you can find the name of all the universities which offer regulatory affairs course. If you want to work in European regulations, so a lot of consultancies in India work on European regulations. You want to join them, you can do a course in MSc TOPRA for European regulation. And if you want to work on USA drugs and regulations, you can do a RAP certification, which is a 1-year course. Now, most of the people who join regulatory doesn't need to necessarily do this course, because when you are in B Farm or M Farm, you are not sure if I want to be in regulatory or not. But if now that technology has improved so much, you have so much access, you are having these lectures through internet, you understand more about different functions in companies. So you can take the decision now that, okay, I want to do a regulatory affairs course. And if you want to do a master's in regulatory affairs, then you are sure about it, and then you can directly join a company in a regulatory affairs course. So these are some of the links of that. These are some of the name of the authorities. You can go and Google if you want to read about regulations of different countries, just want to see what they do or how they are different. This is just name of it. You can Google it. And these are some of the useful links of sites which you can just Google and search to read about what is regulatory, etc. So with this, I end my session and we will open up for questions.
So thank you, sir. I would like to request all the participants to write their questions, their doubts in the chat box so that it can be attended by sir.
Praveen, you will be telling the questions to me, or can I read it in the chat box?
Both we can do it, sir.
I am not able to see the chat box.
Yeah, right. Till this point, no one has put any question.
Okay.
Yeah. So just wait. I would like to request all the participants to share the questions, your doubts. So there is one question, sir, related to law. You have said that regulation, science and law, those who have the interest in science and related to law. So as a student at the second year or third year level, do they have to do the patent course or something like that additionally with this, which will give the benefit to it?
Okay, that's a very good question. I have personally done a WIPO course, which is quite easy. You have to read for 2-3 months, learn it, and you can give an online course. So any certification is beneficial for you, but does it count to you in the job? No. So when I joined regulatory, nobody was even bothered if I've done a patent course or not. Even they were not bothered that if I've done a regulatory course or not. So from the learning point of view, in second and third year, what is more important is you learn as much as possible. Don't think that should I learn patent or not, should I learn regulatory or not, should I learn biotechnology or not. It should not be a question. It should be how much more can you learn, because when you are in a student life, you have a lot of time to learn. You can spend it in any way, but the more you learn, the more exposed you are to different fields, and it makes you a better decision maker in what field you want to go. Because I have seen people who have gone into field and after 2-3 years they realize, oh, this is not for me, because they didn't do proper research where they wanted to enter, and because just they were getting a job, they took it, and then regretted it. And in this case, I can give you one example. And in fact, Somani sir would be knowing a lot about me. So when I was in NIPER, and in NIPER, generally the companies come for recruitment in October of second year. And there were a lot of companies with very good packages. But I had made my mind that I have to do something which is related to science and business and law. I didn't know if I have to do regulatory. It could have been patent, it could have been anything else. Like there are insurance companies which do medical writing, etc. I didn't know that. Or I would have done PhD in chemoinformatics or pharmacoinformatics. So there were a lot of options. So when the company started coming in October, there were a lot of companies who came like a consultancies. I did not even appear for interview. And I was at the risk that it may happen that at the end of 2 years, I will be without the job. But waiting and getting into the right function and career is more important than getting into any job, because you are committing yourself for 35 years of career. So if you get into a wrong career, after 5 years, you will have to start from zero. So instead of that, think about it now, what you want in life, what do you enjoy? Like I said, after Somani sir used to teach her, I got interested in chemistry so much that I was getting pharmaceutics in UD as a option, and chemistry as well. But I was like, no. And Somani sir had only introduced this chemoinformatics to me when I was in B.Pharm. And I got so interested in it. And I was like, the first thing I will do is to find out where this course is offered. And it was in NIPER Mohali. So I studied hard and I was like, whatever, even if I'm getting pharmaceutics in UD, which is like the highly decorated and respected course, I will go for chemoinformatics, which is what I like to do. And when I did that, I never regretted it, because it is something which I like to do. So think about what you like in this time which you are getting in your college. Don't just blindly follow that, okay, you get more money if you are doing MBA. But you are going to be doing that for 35 years. No money is sufficient if you're not enjoying
it. Right. Thank you, sir. Next question is from the Prutha Parmar. What core subject should I choose for M.Pharm so that it would be the most relevant for regulatory affairs, apart from M.Pharm in RA?
So when you do a course in regulatory, not only in regulatory affairs, even in an industry, when you want to go into R&D, you want to go into quality, any science background is acceptable. So when companies come for recruitment, they do not say that, oh, I want only pharmaceutical chemistry person to appear for interview. They never say that until it's specific job. Like for example, if it is like a quality job, they want someone with analytical background. If you are going to work in a lab. But most of the companies, if they're coming, they will look for common skills, not for specific expertise. Because when you are in M.Pharm, think about it, B.Pharm, M.Pharm. B.Pharm, you learn basics of pharmaceuticals. You are not actually an expert. In M.Pharm, you learn skills. You learn about how to run an instrument, how to apply your knowledge into experiments, etc. But are you doing any breakthrough innovation in 2 years? 2 years is very less to do any breakthrough innovation. So most companies in B.Pharm and M.Pharm look for skills. Not for specific expertise, because when you are in M.Pharm, think about it, B.Pharm, M.Pharm. B.Pharm, you learn basics of pharmaceuticals. You are not actually an expert. In M.Pharm, you learn skills. You learn about how to run an instrument, how to apply your knowledge into experiments, etc. But are you doing any breakthrough innovation in 2 years? 2 years is very less to do any breakthrough innovation. So most companies in B.Pharm and M.Pharm look for skills. that, okay, how are you good in your thinking? How good can you apply your mind into different situations which are difficult? So those things will be tested, not your subject knowledge. So even if you are in pharmaceutical chemistry or toxicology or analytical, you can still get into regulatory.
Okay, thank you. The next question, it is from Ajit Rajput. It is on the same based question, the previous question. It is like, do we have to do regulatory affair after B Pharmacy regulatory affair course specifically, or we should go for M.Pharm in specific subject? So I think you have already answered that masters you can continue, or what you can say.
Correct. So basically, if you think about the courses in US and Europe, who are developed countries, they offer these courses generally for people to do in parallel. So for example, you have done your B Pharm, you have joined a regulatory team who is working on Europe, and you don't want to take a break from your job and still want a certification. So you can do a parallel course in European regulation, US regulation, and a lot of people do that. But if you think that you want to continue, you are very sure that I want regulatory affairs as my career, and then only you should be going for masters in regulatory affairs. Because if you do masters in regulatory affairs, the companies who would be coming to hire you would be specializing in regulatory affairs. Quality, if you want to change at that time, then your masters would not be considered. But if you are in a generic field like pharmaceutical chemistry, toxicology, etc., then you can go anywhere. But if you do masters in regulatory affairs, it becomes very limited. So if you have not decided, I would suggest go into regulatory affairs and then do a parallel course which is offered by many universities. Don't do a full-time master's course in regulatory.
Okay.
If you are not sure about it.
Yeah. The next question is, what type of skills students need to acquire in their education in the first to final year or in the masters to become an expert into the regulatory affairs?
So I think you cannot become an expert in college. You need to deal with real life situations, like as I gave you example of Maggie. Think about it. If you were that person who took that interpretation and then FDA took a different interpretation, and because of you, they had to lose $20 million and the product is out of market for a year and they lost market share. How much responsibility are you carrying? So when you go through that real life examples, then you learn really. So you cannot be an expert. What you can learn as a skill is human skills, which are not specific to a subject. So for example, your presentation skills. How good are you in presentation? Your people communication skills. So when you are talking to someone, do they get your message or are they confused? Are you telling stories which nobody's understanding? Are you to the point? When you are talking to people, are you humble? Are you arrogant? Body language. So those are human skills which people look for, and attitude. So for example, I can give you a few examples of how attitude is measured when people are interviewed. So I've taken a lot of interviews and recruited a lot of people. So for example, if I ask someone that, okay, explain a complex situation which you have gone through in your life. Some people say that, oh, I have gone through this, which is not a complex situation. They have never gone through a complex situation, but they try to make it up. But instead of that, if you say that I have never gone through it, but if I am in it, I would react this way. So you are being honest and your thinking shows that you know how to react and how to get answers. You don't have the answer. Nobody has all the answers, but you know how to get this answers. So that is an attitude difference.
You have rightly said, and based on this only, this year we are going to start with the one additional course that is Universal Human Values.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
That will be great.
So it will be throughout the year, and all the students, they can participate. There are n number of activities for the students who can participate, and it can excel, and they can choose the right career path.
Yeah. So, no, it will be great.
Yeah. So no more questions right now. So my last question to you is, in short, from the education to the career path, which short message you can give it to the students?
Yeah. So basically, one thing which I tell everyone and which I have applied in my life, which has helped me excel, even in college, even in NIPER, and getting a very coveted job in PNG. The thing is, think about it. If you do the same thing as others are doing, why would you be selected among everyone? You need to do something different than others. You have to do something special. If there are 10,000 people, everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is working hard. Everyone is doing experiments. Everyone is reading. Everyone is giving exams. What are you doing different? So if I have to select one person out of 10,000 people, how will I select it if everyone is doing same? I cannot select. But I will see that one person would have done something different. That, okay, this can be done. And in fact, I don't know, Somani sir would remember this or not. When I was in Bharati Vidyapeeth, there was not a trend that people would go in IPC, Indian Pharmaceutical Congress, and present, because in BPharm, because it was always considered that only MPharm people present there. And I went to Rashmi Vora ma'am and Somani sir and told them I want to go there. And they encouraged me. And they said that if you want to do it, you are not doing any experiments, but what are the other things you can do? And I explored with other colleges, MPharm students, on what is needed to go there. And I think I was the first person in BPharm in Bharati Vidyapeeth who went for an IPC. And then when someone comes and talks to 100 BPharm people for recruitment, if I say this one thing, that I was able to get into IPC, nobody else was able to, that is sufficient reason for anyone to differentiate me. Even in NIPER, when I was there, I always look for what everyone is doing. If you are doing the same thing, then how are you different? Why should someone select you? If you want to be selected, you have to do more than what others are doing. So that would be my message. I mean, if in your college, in your early career, whole your career, even today, I am head of a department managing a very big responsibility. But today also I look at my colleagues at the same level and I'm like, if I'm doing the same thing, there are 200 of people in my company who would be at same level. And there will be only 2 promotions every year. Who will get it? The only person who is doing more than others would get it. So it's a lifelong message.
So thank you. That's a great message. That's something different, something innovative, and that is what the today's trend is. So definitely this will help students to think out of the box. So since there are no more questions, we'll come to the last part of the session. We complete the question answer session. So I would like to.
I just wanted to give one more message before we close, if we have time.
Yeah, sure.
And I think which helped me in my college days. So basically the message, and I'm not giving a philosophical message, it's a reality which I've gone through. So, when I was doing this, I had to give up pharmaceutics in UDCT to go to NIPER and select a pharmacoinformatics course where I know there is no future in India. In India, drug discovery happens to a very less chance. So it was a very difficult decision that, okay, should I leave a very well-respected, decorated, where surely I will get a good job, etc., in a good company, versus going into a course which I don't know if I will ever get a job or if there is any future. So it's very important that you have self-confidence. That, think about it, if you do not believe in yourself, how are you expecting others to believe in you? So the first person who should be believing in you is yourself. If you are not believing in yourself, nobody will believe in you. That's given.
True.
So if you are expecting others to believe you, to give you an opportunity, like even in sports, if you are expecting someone to make you a captain, if you are expecting your teachers to give you an opportunity, if you don't believe in you, why will they believe in you? The first thing starts from you. So if you are getting an instinct and thinking that, okay, I want to do something, be confident about it.
Thank you for the nice message. So with this, I would like to thank Gaurav sir, who has aptly presented the content related to career in regulatory affairs. Sir has very well explained about the career path, why regulatory, then what is regulatory, and what do we do in the regulatory, and then different career paths in regulatory affairs. Also, we have to how to select the, for example, categories, for example, the different roles. And sir has nicely explained about the future, uh, the keys related to shape the futures. So I would like to thank Gaurav sir for nicely explaining and making it clear to the students. So with this, I conclude today's session. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Somani sir. It was really great to see you.
Yes, sir is now sir is not here in this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll convey your message, and we'll be really happy, Gaurav sir, if you connect with our organization related to
Sure.
Drive Cell.
Sure. And if anyone wants to reach out to me to get any more guidance specific to career, etc., you can take my email ID from Praveen. And Praveen, you can share my email ID
Definitely.
with the students, and you can directly reach out to me. And I'm happy to guide everyone, because I have grown because of guidance of my seniors. So it's very important to get guidance from people. Talk to as many people you can. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Yeah. Sadakat ji.